Okay, good morning everyone. So in today's class, we are going to see about quicksort. So this quicksort is a sorting technique which is based on a famous concept known as divide and conquer technique. So what is the meaning of divide and conquer technique is, one big problem will be given to you. You have to first divide the problem into sub-problems of the same type. Okay, and then you have to find the solution to the sub-problem. Okay, you have to continue this process recursively. Recursively, nothing but from one function, you will be calling the same function again and again. So you find the solution to the sub-problem recursively. And finally, when you get solution from all the sub-problems, you combine the answer from all the sub-problems to find the solution to the original problem. So this is called as divide and conquer. So this quicksort is based upon the concept of divide and conquer technique. And in this, we are going to divide the problem by selecting one special element known as pivot element. So here, the pivot element is an element which should be selected after you start the algorithm phase. And then you are going to divide your array based upon the pivot element only. Okay, so this is the basic of quicksort. Okay, so important keywords here are, we are going to perform some technique known as divide and conquer technique, where if one problem is given to us, we will be dividing that problem into sub-problems, which are of the same type of the original problem. Then we will find solution to the sub-problem. While doing that, again, we will divide the sub-problem into sub-problems. We will continue like this until your sub-problem is not divided into further sub-problems. Okay, and finally, when all these things are over, you combine the solution from all the sub-problems to find the solution to the original problem. Okay, now this quicksort is based upon the pivot element. So what is a pivot element? Every time you are going to choose one element as a pivot element, and there are different ways to select which element should be taken as pivot. There are four important methods. The first method is, whatever is your array under consideration, consider the first element of that array as a pivot element. That is the second method. And the third method is, you can pick any random element as a pivot element. And the last method is, whatever is your array, find the median of the array and take that element as a pivot element. So these are the four different techniques we have in finding the pivot element. Am I sharing my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So these are the four different methods we have in selecting the pivot element. So in our class, we are going to select the second approach, that is pick the last element in your array as a pivot element. Okay, and every time you are going to choose one element as a pivot element. For that only, we have these four different options. Now, let us see the remaining steps of the algorithm. So here we are going to follow an approach known as partitioning approach. So what is partitioning is, I told you that it is divide and conquer technique. That is, if one problem is given to you, you will divide that problem into sub-problems. So that division is known as partitioning. Okay, so here the array will be given to you. You have to partition the array into two sub-arrays with respect to the pivot element. So based upon the pivot element only, you are going to partition the array into two sub-arrays. Once you partition, two conditions will be valid. So what all the conditions are? All the elements less than the pivot element will be moved to the left of the pivot element. Okay, and all the elements which are greater than the pivot element will be moved to the right of the pivot element. Suppose if any element is equal to the pivot element, it is up to you while you are writing the program whether to place the element either to the right or to the left of the pivot element. Okay, there is no hard rule for this particular equal case, but when the number is less than the pivot element, you have to move it to the left of the pivot element. If the number is greater than the pivot element, you have to move it to the right of the pivot element. So these are the two important points. Right. Now, here the algorithm consists of certain basic steps. We will see them, then we will find one tracing. After that, we will go to the detailed program. So every time you have to select the last element as a pivot element. Then you have to perform three steps recursively. You all know what is the meaning of recursion. Recursion is nothing but if you call one function from the same function again, that is called as recursion. You will write a function to perform a specific work. From that work, if you are calling the same function again but passing different set of parameters, okay, that is called as recursion. Okay, so in this we have three steps. The first step is you have to bring the pivot element to its correct position in the array such that all the elements to its left are smaller and all the elements to its right are greater. This is the first step. So here we are finding the position of the pivot element. After that, what we have to do, we have to subdivide the array into two based upon the pivot element position. So after you subdivide the array into two parts, now you have to again perform the quicksort on the left part separately and then perform the quicksort on the right part separately. Okay, so what we are doing here, dividing based upon the pivot element and then conquering. Conquering in the sense you have divided that array into subarrays, perform solution for the subarrays separately. Okay, so this is the basic algorithm we are going to do. Why it is known as a recursive algorithm is within the quicksort algorithm, you are again going to call the quicksort algorithm for the subarray. So it is called as recursive function. Now let us see one tracing to understand how the algorithm will work. Then we will go to the actual program. Okay. Okay. Before tracing, let us see this in a diagrammatic way. So now this is the array under consideration. I have to pick one element as a pivot element. So now which element is selected as pivot element is, in our case, the last element of the array is selected as pivot element. So I have marked that in the red color. Okay. So now the next step, what is the next step? After you select the pivot element, you find the proper position of the pivot element in the sorted array. That means you have to finalize in the final array where this pivot element will appear. You will not finalize the position of the other elements. You will finalize only the position of the pivot element. Okay. So now this is the final position of the pivot element. Now, after I find the final position of the pivot element, I can say two things for sure. So what they are is, whatever elements I have to the left of the pivot element, all these elements will be definitely smaller than the pivot element. But they will not be in the sorted order. They can be of any order, but all will be less than the smaller pivot element. And then whatever element you have in the right part of the pivot element, all will be greater than the pivot element. So what we have done in this step is, this is a big problem given to you. You have divided that problem into two sub-problems. One is for the left subarray and another is for the right subarray. So it is called as dividing. So you have now divided. What is the meaning of conquering? Conquering is nothing but, again, take the subarrays and find the solution to the subarrays recursively. That is called as conquering. That means you will not stop the algorithm here. Again, you have to consider this as your original array. You will perform the quicksort for this particular array. Do this process again and again. So when I do the process again and again, I need some condition to finish my sorting. So what is the final condition is, when you are dividing the array, you will get certain number of elements. When the number of elements in the array becomes 1, that means you cannot divide the array further. So that place you have to stop your dividing. Okay, so this is a recursive algorithm. You will be dividing the problem again and again into sub-problems. So how long we will be dividing into sub-problem is till we get one element in the divided array. Okay, if you have one element, you can't further divide, so you will be stopping. Okay, this is the basics. Now, so I have taken this left subarray. From the left subarray, I have to again select the pivot element. Then I have to move to the final position. In this diagram, I am assuming that the pivot element is moved to this final position. Now, I will have one left subarray as shown by the green color. Then I will have one right subarray as shown by the blue color. Now I have to again divide this array. Which array I have to divide again? So if you see your right array, that is blue color array, only one element is present. So no need to divide that further. Okay, whereas if you consider your left subarray, that contains 2 elements. So you have to further divide that array. So repeat the step for the left part alone. Don't repeat for the right part because it contains only one element. Now let us consider this blue color, the right part here. So now if you consider this, again you choose the pivot element, put it in the correct place, that is shown by the red color. Now all the elements in the green color will be less than or greater than the pivot. What is the answer?
Less than.
Less than the pivot. And all the elements in the blue will be greater than the pivot. Now you have divided this array into 2 subarrays. Okay, likewise you have to proceed further. In this diagram, the green part contains only one element, so you will not divide this further. Whereas the blue part contains 2 elements, so you will divide that further and find the solution. So when we proceed something like this type of algorithm is known as divide and conquer. Now, you have to perform above operations recursively until each subarray contains only one element. Right? So this is a basic. Now let us see one example to understand the working of the algorithm. Now this is my array. I have actually this is the index of the array. I have totally array with 12 elements. So the index of the array will start from 0 up to 11. Now the array contains the following elements. So 13, 19, 9, 5 and so on. So these are the elements in the array. So now let us see our first step. The first step of the algorithm is you have to choose a pivot element. So what is a pivot element here is the last element according to our algorithm. So the last element of the array is 11. Okay. So now select 11 as the pivot element. Right. You can see the movement of the cursors and the numbers I have written here. That is the variables and the values so that you will follow clearly. So now if you see this one, I have the last element which is set as a pivot element. Now you have to use 2 pointers I and j. So what are the values of I and j is always set j as a lower index of the array you are considering currently. Okay, here this is the green array is array I am considering currently. The lower index of that array is 0. So I have to make j to point to that particular element. So j is now set as 0. Okay. Now, what is I? I is nothing but whatever is this low, that minus 1 will be high. Now, low is 0. So set high to minus 1. So these are the initial values you have to set. Let me repeat again. So once you get the array, set the pivot element as the last element in the array. That is nothing but element at a index high. Okay. Now set j as a low index. Low index is nothing but whatever array elements you have, the lower value of the index. So here it is 0. Okay. Now I should be set to j minus low minus 1. Low is here 0. So I is now 0 minus 1. It is set to minus 1. Okay. So now what is my next step? Once you fix the position of all these things, next you have to check whether the value at a of j is greater than the pivot element or not. Actually, it should be less. Okay. Now here you can see 13 is the value at a of j. It is greater than the pivot element, which is 11. Okay. When the value at a of j is greater than the pivot element, you have to move j to the next position until you find a number which is less than the pivot element. Okay. Now here j is pointing to 0. Value at 0 is 13. 13 is greater than the pivot element. But I need to choose a smaller element. So what I have to do is I have to move j to the next position. That is, j should be moved to 1. Okay, in 1, you have the element as 19. Okay, so now you have to compare whether 19 is greater than 11. Yes, it is greater than 11, but we want a smaller element. So what we have to do, go to the next position. So move j to 2. Now check, here we have 9. 9 is less than 11. When the element at j is less than 11, Okay, so now 9 is less than 11. So that means you have to stop moving the pointer j. Okay, so stop j at 2 because here you have the element 9 which is less than the pivot element, right? So now what is the next step? Now 9, since 9 is less than 11, we are stopping the movement of j. At this point of time, you have to increment I value. Okay, so here I is minus 1. Now you have to increment I so that I will be equal to 0. You have to increment by 1 only. Now I will be equal to 0. Then after you increment I, what you have to do is, now I is pointing to 0. There we have the element as 13. So what is our next step is swap A of I and A of j. Okay, so in A of I means it is 13, A of j is 9. You swap these two elements. So what will happen now is after you swap, your array is changed to 9 will come here and 13 will go to A of j. Okay, so this is the first step. I will repeat the step again. First, once you set the value of all the pointers, compare whether A of I is less than the pivot element or not. You have to find an element which is less than the pivot element. That is your aim. So if it is not less than the pivot element, you increment j until you find an element which is less than the pivot element. And once you find an element which is less than the pivot element, then you have to increment I. After you increment I, swap the elements at A of I and A of j. Okay, so this is your step. Now we have swapped these two elements. So what is our next step? Again, check whether the element at A of j is less than the pivot element or not. And proceed incrementing j until you find an element which is less than the pivot element. Okay, now here we have 13. Okay, 13 will not be definitely less than this 11 because that we have moved from here only. Okay, so now you have to increment j until you get an element which is less than the pivot element, that is 11. Okay, so now try to see where are the pointers. I is now pointing to 9 and then j is now pointing to 13. Now let us go to the next slide. So here I is pointing to 11, 9 previously and j is pointing to 13 previously. 13 is not less than 11. So I have to increment j until I get an element which is less than the pivot element. So here when I increment j to 3, I am getting the element as 5, that is less than the pivot element. Now what I have to do? I got an element that is less than the pivot element. So my next step is I have to increment this I. Then I have to swap A of I and A of j after you increment. So increment I. So once you increment I, you will get this array. I is previously 0. Now I will be pointing to 1. After you increment I, the next step is swap A of I and A of j. So when I swap A of I and A of j, A of I is 19, A of j is 5. Now these two will be exchanged. So your array will be 9, 5, 13, 19 and so on. Okay, so after you swap, next again consider this j, move j to the right direction, that is increment j until you find an element which is less than the pivot element. Okay, so now the same steps we are going to perform again and again. So now increment j until you get an element that is less than the pivot. Now you see here it is pointing to 19. Next, if I increment, it will go to 12. 12 is not less than 11. So I have to again increment j. Now j is pointing to 8. Okay, j is now 5. It is pointing to 8. Now 8 is less than 11. Now what I have to do is, since I got an element which is less than the pivot element, I have to next increment this I and swap A of I and A of j. So that we will see here. Okay, so now I'm going to increment I, then I will swap A of I and A of j. So after that, when I increment I is before 1, now it will be 2. Now I have to swap A of I and A of j. That means 13 and 8 will be exchanged. So after exchange, I am getting this array. 9, 5, 8, 19, 12, 13 and so on. Okay, now again I have to continue with the same process. increment j until you get an element which is less than the pivot. So now I have to move j to the next position. Here I have 7. 7 is less than the pivot element 11. So once I got an element less than the pivot, the next step is increment I and swap a of I and a of j. So now we are going to do that. So increment I. Previously I used to, if I increment I will be 3, then I have to swap a of I and a of j. You can see the previous diagram. A of I is 19, a of j is 7. When I swap these two, I will get my new array as 9, 5, 8, 7, 12, 13, 19 and so on. So next step is again increment j and find an element which is less than the pivot element. So now I am going to increment j. J is now pointing to 7. J is having a value 7. It is pointing to the element 4. 4 is less than the pivot element. So I got the element. So what I have to do now is increment I and swap a of I and a of j. So I have done increment and I have swapped the values. So I am getting 4 here and then 12 here. They are exchanged. Now perform the same step. Increment j until you get an element which is less than the pivot. So now move j to 8, that is 21. It is not less than the pivot. Then move j to the next position 9. There you have the element as 2. 2 is now less than the pivot element. So you stop there. Then increment I and swap a of I and a of j. Now I am incrementing I. So I will get I to this particular position where we have 13. Now I have to swap 13 and 2. So I will have my array like this after the swapping. The elements 2 and 13 are exchanged. So my next step is again I have to increment j until I get an element less than pivot. Now if I increment j, j is now pointing to 6. 6 is less than the pivot element. Now I have to increment I and swap a of I and a of j. Okay, so now increment I is previously 5, now it will be 6. It is pointing to the element 19. A of I is nothing but 19. Okay, now you have to exchange 19 and 6. So after exchange, this will be your array. Now what is the next step is, again you have to increment j. But here you see, if you increment j, j will point to pivot element again. Okay, so once you reach high minus 1 for the index of j, you have to stop incrementing j value because high is our pivot element. The element at high is our pivot element. Okay, that element only we are comparing with other elements. So once you reach high minus 1 index, if you further increment j, you will go to the pivot element only. So don't proceed further. You stop incrementing j at that particular point of time. Now our loop is terminated. Okay, so you are doing all these operations inside the loop. Okay, so when you have to terminate the loop is when your j value is reaching high, you have to terminate. You have to increment j from low till high minus 1 only. When you reach high minus 1, terminate the process of the looping. Okay, now what you have to do is, this step is very important. Once you terminate the looping, it means that you have found the correct position for the pivot element. You have to put the element in that position. So what is the correct position for the pivot element is I plus 1. Here I is now 6. Now we are going to move the pivot element to its correct position in the final array. That position is nothing but not I plus 1. Okay. Now I is 6. Make the position of the pivot element as 6 plus 1, that is 7. Then swap the element at the position 7 with the pivot element. Okay, now you can see I am swapping 11 and 12. Okay, now after swapping, the position of I and j are same only. You are simply swapping the element at I plus 1 and then the pivot element. Okay, now when this step is over, it means that your partition function is going to return you this I plus 1. Okay, so here I plus 1 is nothing but 7. The function will return you 7, and that is the final position of the pivot element. You store it in a variable called pos. Okay, here we are going to store the final position of the pivot element in the variable pos. Now pivot element has reached its final position, okay, because we have performed the swapping operation, right? So now you can see here the yellow color is nothing but the final position of the pivot element. Now if you see this array, the new array, once the pivot element has reached its final position, all the elements to the right of the pivot element as shown by the blue color are greater than the pivot element. All the elements here are greater than 11. Similarly, all the elements given in the green color in the left hand side of the pivot element are smaller than 11. Okay, so this is our dividing and conquering process. We have started with one big array, then we have divided that array based upon the position of the pivot element only. Okay, so now we have to do the same operation again for the left array separately, then for the right array separately. So I am going to now consider the array in the left hand direction. So if you see in the left hand direction, you have to again call the quicksort algorithm. But very important thing to note here is you have to pass the entire array again, but the index for this array are now different. Okay, every time you have to pass 2 index to the array, which will tell you where is your first element for that particular subarray starts and where is the last element of that particular subarray is present. So if you see this particular subarray in green color, the first element is starting at the index low, which is same as the previous low. Okay, but the last element of this subarray, previously it was at high position. This is called as high position. But now the last element for this subarray is not at high position. Instead, it is at the pivot element position -1. Okay, the position of the pivot element, we have stored it in the variable called pos. So the last element of the left subarray will be at the index pos -1. So you have to now call this quicksort. Be careful by changing. You have to change this index every time. The parameters you have to change. Okay, whatever is the current array you are considering, check what is the index of the lowest number, that is the first element, and what is the index of the last element. Okay, they can be of highest or lowest. We are not bothering about their value. Just consider the index of those elements. Similarly, you consider the blue color part. So here, the index of the lowest element is 21 is the lowest element. Okay, the index of that element is now not low. Instead, it is pos +1. Pos is nothing but position of the pivot element. That +1 will be the index of the lowest element. And the index of the last element will be high only. Okay, so now I have to call quicksort again for this particular blue part. Okay, now you can see here at this part we are not at all including this pos anywhere. Pos is nothing but position of 11. We are not at all including that anywhere. In both the subproblems, we are not including pos. What is the reason for that one is 11 has occupied its final position. Don't consider that further. You consider either the left part separately and proceed further, or right part separately and proceed further. Okay, so this is the way how we are dividing our problem into 2 subproblems. Then we have to do the same function again and again, that is subdivide the array again and again after finding the pivot element until you get all the subarrays with size 1. Okay, once you get all the subarrays with size 1, you have to stop your further division of the algorithm. So now we have divided the array into 2 subarrays. So in the next step, what we are going to do is, we are going to take those 2 subarrays and then we have to perform the same process again recursively. So I am going to do only for one part of the subarray, not for both the subarrays. You can do the remaining. So now I am going to consider one part of the array. When I consider this, I have to again set the proper values for I, j and the pivot element for the particular array I am considering. Now I am going to consider the left subarray. So I have to set proper values for these three. So what does pivot element is? That is the last element in the left subarray. So in the left subarray, the last element is nothing but 6. So you have to make pivot element as 6. Then what is I and j? J is nothing but the first element index of the first element in the left subarray. That is nothing but 9 is the first element in the left subarray. That is at the index 0. So that is j now. And I is nothing but whatever is this low is now 0. Whatever is this low, that minus 1 will be I. So I is now minus 1 according to this particular diagram. Okay. So now let us proceed our algorithm. You have to again increment j until you get an element which is less than the pivot element. So I have to increment. So I am incrementing to 5. 5 is now less than the pivot element. So the pivot element is currently 6, not 11. Okay. So now 5 is less than 6. So I have to stop incrementing j. Once you stop incrementing j, next step is increment I and swap a of I and a of j. Same steps. So I am going to increment I and swap a of I and a of j. So now I is pointing to the first element, that is at the index 0. Now I have to swap that element at index 0 and element at index 1. Okay, when I swap these two, 9 and 5 will be exchanged. So I will have this as my new array. Okay, now again increment j until you get an element which is less than the pivot element. Okay, so now I have to increment j. If you see, next element is 8. 8 is not less than the pivot element. So I have to again increment j. I will get 7. 7 is not less than the pivot element. So I have to again increment j. I will get 4. 4 is less than the pivot element, which is 6. Okay. Now, since I got an element which is less than the pivot element, I have to stop incrementing j. Now, I have to increment I and swap a of I and a of j. Okay. So we will go to the next slide. So now I have to increment I and swap a of I and a of j. So if I do that, I'll be getting this as my array. Okay. Next step is again you have to increment j until you get an element which is less than the pivot. So I am incrementing j and moving that to the next element 2. 2 is now less than 6. So I have to stop incrementing j. Then I have to swap that with the element after incrementing I. That is, I have to increment I and swap a of I and a of j. Okay, now I is pointing to 4. Increment that. So you will have I here. Swap the element at that position with a of j. That is, you are going to swap 8 and 2. After swapping, this will be your array. So what is our next step is, again we have to increment j. But you should be careful here. You can increment j only before the pivot element. When the element, if you increment j after this particular point, it will point to pivot element only. No need for incrementing j at this particular step. Okay, so now you have to stop the process of incrementing j. Our loop is over. Okay, you have to come outside the loop. When you come outside the loop, you have to do the process of finding the position of the partitioning element. Okay, so now what is the position of the pivot element is, here whatever is I, you increment that by 1, that will be the position of the pivot element. Okay, I is now actually 5 is at 0, so I is now 2. Okay, so now you have to increment I, then that will be the position of the pivot element. Why we are doing this step is, j reached high minus 1. Okay, you should not increment j further. So now you have to swap a of I plus 1 and the pivot element. So now you can see here, previously a of I plus 1 is 7 and the pivot element is 6. Now I have to swap these two. After swapping, my new array will be 5, 4, 2, 6, 9, 8, 7. Right? So we have done the swapping now. Now, what is our pivot element here? If you see this one, after this step is over, we have placed the pivot element in the correct position. The pivot element here is 6. Now it is placed in this particular position. See the movement of the cursor, pivot element is placed here. Okay, let me show that in the next one. Here, pivot element has reached its final sorted position. Now you have to partition the array into two subarrays. You can see pivot element is nothing but 6. It has reached its final position. How we are saying that pivot element has reached its final position is all the elements to the left of the pivot element are now less than the pivot element, and all the elements to the to the right of the pivot element are greater than the pivot element. Okay, so now 6 has occupied its final position. So now you have divided this array, which was previously in green color, into two subarrays, one shown in the green color and another shown in the brown color. Okay, again you have divided this problem. Now, can I stop the quicksort at this stage? The answer is you should not stop. What is the reason is your left subarray contains 3 elements. Similarly, your right subarray in the new part again contains 3 elements. You can stop dividing further when you get one element in the array. So you have to continue again. So now let us see how we are going to continue again. So here again the same steps, increment j until you get an element less than the pivot element. Now I am going to consider this green subarray. Here my pivot element is 2 because that is the last element in that particular subarray. Okay. Now I have to increment I until I get element less than the pivot. Initially I will be pointing to 5. 5 is not less than the pivot element. So you will increment I. Now I is pointing to 4. Again 4 is not less than the pivot element. But if I increment this j further, I will reach the pivot element only. You cannot increment j to the position of the pivot element. Okay. So now you have to stop the process of incrementing j. Okay. So that means you are going to come outside the loop. Okay. So once you come outside the loop, what is our step is, since j reached high minus 1, we are going to come outside the loop. So what is the step is, you swap a of I plus 1 and the pivot element. Okay. So a of I plus 1 is nothing but 5. Pivot element is 2. I am going to swap these two. Okay. When I swap, I will be getting 2, 4, 5 here. Okay. Now the pivot element you have swapped to some place. That means the pivot element has reached its final position. That's why I have shown that in the orange color. Okay. Now, since the pivot element has reached its final position, you have again two subarrays. If you see this particular diagram, I have only one subarray, that is array with elements 4 and 5, which is at the right of the pivot element. I don't have any subarray to the left of the pivot element. Okay. It's fine. Sometimes you will get like this only. Okay. Now you have to consider only this particular subarray with 4 and 5. Again, you have to perform the quick sort on that. Okay. So now if you consider this, the pivot element has reached its final position. So we have done this. Now you have to perform the same steps for the green color subarray. Okay. 4 and 5. Consider them and perform the same steps. Now, if I consider 4 and 5, my pivot element is nothing but the last element in that array, that is 5. Okay. And j, I will make as the first index in that particular subarray. Okay. Actually, j is now pointing to 0, 1, 1 only. Okay. Remember here, j is not pointing to 0. It is pointing to the first element in the green subarray, which is at the index 1. Okay. Now, I will be whatever is this low value, that minus 1. Low value here is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So I will be now pointing to array of 0. Okay. So now you have to again increment j until you find an element which is less than the pivot element. Now here my pivot element is 5. This 4 is less than the pivot element. So I found an element. When you do that, what you are going to do is, now you are going to increment I and swap a of I and a of j. Okay. So now I am going to increment I. So I will be here, that is 4. It will come to this 4. I have to swap 4 with 4 only. So same number only I will get. Then I will try to increment j further, but it is not possible because j has reached high minus 1. So now what I have to do, when j has reached I minus 1, I have to swap a of I plus 1 and the pivot element. So a of I plus 1 is nothing but, you can see here, I is pointing to 2. A of I plus 1 is nothing but this 4. Okay, you have to swap this 4 with the pivot element. Okay, so now if you see, I have to swap 4 with the pivot element. Just a minute. So now the element 5 has reached its final position. Now if I consider the green color subarray, it has only one element 4. So I have to stop the process of quicksort now again. Recursively calling should be stopped because your new subarray contains only one element. Okay, if you see this, whatever is shown in color other than blue, all the elements have occupied their final position, because we have taken only that particular part and we have shown the iterations. But this array blue is again not sorted, so that you have to again do the same process for that particular array recursively until all the subarrays contains only one element. So this process should be continuously done. Right. Coming to the program of the quicksort, first let us see the main function. So in main function, you are first going to declare an array to store the elements. Then you are going to get the number of elements in the array and store it in the variable n. Okay, read the value of the number of elements from the user, and then now you have to get the actual elements from the user. For that, we have a function called create array. So you are going to call the function create array by passing the array and the number of elements in that array. Okay, now after you create the array, you display the array before sorting to the user. For displaying the array, we have another function called display. For that, we need to pass two arguments. One is what is the array to be displayed and how many elements are there in the array. And after the array is displayed, you call the quicksort algorithm. For the quicksort algorithm, you need to pass three arguments. The first argument is the array to be sorted, which is the array A. And the second argument is the lower index of the element in the array. And the third argument is higher index of the element in the array. Okay, so the lower index of the array is 0 and the higher index of the array is n minus 1. So why it is n minus 1 is my array size is n. So all the elements will be in the array will be from the index 0 up to n minus 1. So you perform the quicksort for this particular array. After that, you display the array after sorting. For that, again call the function display by passing two arguments a and n. Now let us see all the three functions one by one. Create array, display, quicksort. First, let me concentrate on the quicksort function because you already know the create array and the display functions. So let us go to the quicksort function. So if you see the function quicksort, we are passing three arguments. The first argument is the array. So use a square bracket for indicating the array. And the second and third arguments are the lower index of the array currently you are considering and the higher index of the array you are considering currently. Store it in the variables low and high. Okay. Now this low and high are passed by value, whereas your array is passed by address. So whatever changes you are doing inside the function in the array, that will be reflected in the other functions also. Okay. Now I have to do certain steps until I find an array with only one element. Okay, so how to know whether you got an array with only one element? The condition for that is if low is equal to high. What is the meaning is low is the index of the lower value, lower element, and high is the index of the higher element. If both are same, it means that your array has only one element. Okay, if low is less than high, it means that array has more than one element. So in that case only you have to call the quicksort again. Okay, so if low is less than high, array has more than one element, so you again perform the quicksort. Otherwise, if low is equal to high, you have to stop the process because the array contains only one element. Now, what we have to do in quicksort is first you have to find the position of the partitioning. Okay, that is nothing but the position where you are going to place your pivot element. Okay, so now to find the partitioning position, I have another function called partition. Let me explain that later. To this function, you have to pass three arguments. First argument is your array, and the second argument is lower index of the array to be partitioned, and third argument is higher index of the array to be partitioned. This partition algorithm will find the position of the partitioning element, that is the pivot element, and return that to you. Store that in a variable called pos. Okay, so now in pos, I am going to store the position of the pivot element. Okay, that means that particular position is finalized. Okay, now you have to again call the quicksort two times, one for the left subarray and another for the right subarray. Okay, so to call for the left subarray, I have the quicksort at line number 54. So here my left subarray contains index from low up to pos -1. Okay, and the right subarray contains index from pos +1 till high. Okay, for both the things you are going to pass the entire array A only, but the index of the lower element and higher element are different. For the left subarray, it is from low up to pos -1, and for the right subarray, it is from pos +1 up to high. Now, let us see this partition function. So, if you see the partition function, this function will take three values as parameters as the quicksort function. One is A, that is the entire array, and low and high. Here this low and high are nothing but what is the current array you want to partition. It is not the original array we gave from main. Okay, every time your array is reducing its size. Okay, so whatever is your current array, you pass the low index and high index of that particular array as the argument to the partition function. Okay, now let us recollect the steps. Once you start the partition, first you have to fix the last element in that particular array as a pivot element. So what is the last element? It is at the index high. Okay, so whatever is A of high, that is your last element in that particular subarray. Keep that element as a pivot element. Now you have to set I value. So what is I is, whatever is this low, that -1 will be high. Okay, now you have to set the j value and do the looping repeatedly. Okay, so what is the initial value of j? That is nothing but whatever is this low, that will be the initial value of j. Now when you set j, you have to do certain steps. So you will be doing a checking process. Okay, what you are checking is, you are going to check whether the current element at A of j is less than the pivot element. If the element at A of j is less than the pivot element, then what we have done in the tracing, we have incremented I, that is I++, then we have swapped A of I and A of j. Okay, so to swapping, I am going to use a temporary variable. Whatever is there in A of I, I am going to store it in temp. Then whatever is there in A of j, that I am going to put it in A of I. Then I will place the value in A of, that is temp, to A of j. That is, I am performing the swapping here. Okay. Now, once you do this, once you do the swapping, again you will increment j by 1 and continue the same process. How long we will increment j by 1 and continue the same processes? Until j is less than or equal to high -1. After that, you should not increment j further because the next element is the pivot element. Okay, that only you are going to move to the correct position. So you stop your looping at this stage. When you stop the iteration, that is when you stop the looping, you come outside the looping. Now you have to swap A of I+1 and the pivot element. Okay, so pivot element is available at the index high. Okay, so now I am going to swap A of I+1 and the pivot element. So I am writing the same steps for swapping. Okay, you can even write one function for performing swapping and call the function. Here if you see, line number 33 up to 35 are the steps for swapping. The same step I am writing from 38 to 40. Instead of that, you can write another function for swapping and you can call it. Okay, now at this stage, I have swapped A of I+1 with A of I, which is the pivot element. Now I have to return the position of the pivot element, which is nothing but I+1. Okay. Now this I plus 1 only, we are going to store it in pass. Okay. So with this, the quicksort algorithm is over. Now let us recollect the process of creating array and displaying the element. In create array, simply you are going to pass the array and the number of elements. Using for loop, you are going to read the elements. So you are going to start with index is equal to 0 and index less than n, that is n minus 1. Using scanf, you are going to read the elements one by one. In the function display, again you are going to do the same thing only for the looping variable, but instead of scanf, since you are going to print the elements, you are going to use printf. Okay, so with this, the quicksort algorithm is over.